Hello, I'm Paul Ricci. I'm here with at the Cambria County Democratic Committee meeting with Beth Farnham. She is running for the Democratic nomination for the 14th Congressional District?
13th.
13th Congressional District.
Yep.
Running against John Joyce.
Yep.
The district runs all the way from Cambria County to Gettysburg, or Adams County.
That's right.
So is that where you live?
I actually do live in Adams County. I actually live in Conewago Township, where I was a school board member this past year. The 13th Congressional District is 10 counties plus 2 pieces. So we have Adams, Franklin, Fulton, Bedford, Cambria, Blair, Huntingdon, Mifflin, Juniata, Perry, the western edge of Cumberland, and the northwest corner of Somerset.
Okay, yes, well, certainly that's a lot of traveling and probably a lot of time on the phone raising money.
Well, we've been traveling a lot, that's true. And I've been getting a lot of message out, mostly through social media as well as through speeches. There's phone stuff too, but mostly it's getting out there in person because I really wanted to meet as many Democrats as I could.
Okay, so what motivated you to make a run for Congress this year?
Well, when we didn't have a candidate in 2022 and I found out about it, I immediately began a write-in campaign. It was 3 weeks before the November election, but I was not going to let Representative John Joyce, who co-sponsors bills like the Life at Conception Act, with his belief system, represent me if I could make a difference. So I spray painted my signs, and I got to meet many of the chairs of the district, and I got to drive around the district, and I got to speak a few times. I was able to put my signs up, and other people put them up in other counties, so that my message was out there. And of course, I had my website. When this election started nearing, this election year, I thought, I'm going to do it again. And so then, I filed with the FEC, and I got my treasurer together, and we just went for it, and it has been a tremendous undertaking, but a good undertaking. This is the first presidential election since the January 6th insurrection, since Roe versus Wade got overturned, since former president and accused criminal Trump was slammed with 91 felonies, and since his trials began. We've got a lot going on right now for this election, and anything can happen between now and November. It is tremendously important that Democrats are out there and represented, and so I'm doing that, and ultimately we want to get into office.
Okay, well that's all well and good. So is this your first? So was last time your first run for office in 2022?
Technically, no. I'm an elected member of the Adams County Democratic Committee.
Oh, you are?
I am. And I was appointed school board member last March, but then I had to run for it. So I campaigned and won the Democratic primary. I had cross-filed. I won that Democratic primary. And then I ran for the November election, and I didn't get it, obviously, but I did secure 43% of the vote in an area that went over 60% for State Senator Douglas Mastriano, who, when he was running for governor. And he is our state senator. So I felt very good about how much that needle moved from the usual 33% we see for Democrats in our area.
So as a school board member, did you have any encounters with Moms for Liberty?
They did target me from Maryland. The Carroll County Moms for Liberty apparently did target me, but and I got in touch with the Stop National Moms for Liberty group. They're on Facebook.
I interviewed the Liz Micateri.
Oh, that's great.
You can see her interview on this website.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so they've been a great group just as a resource about what parents and anybody, residents, can do to counter Moms for Liberty. Basically, parents don't realize that this isn't an issue. And the Moms for Liberty try to drum up more of an issue than it is. The bathrooms and the books, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. First of all, I trust our certified, educated librarians, school librarians, teachers. Second, I trust them to find materials that are appropriate for students, not only because of their education, but because of their status as mandatory reporters. These people are tasked with the responsibility of reporting when something isn't appropriate, whether it's an action or words or even materials. So to make them have these other standards to abide by is to fail to recognize their competence already in what they do. Also, school districts have Title IX coordinators. Again, people tasked with law to make sure that nothing is inappropriate for students. Now, I understand sex makes parents uncomfortable, and a lot of them don't talk about it with their kids, but that's why sex education is there in the schools. So I support national standards of sex education, SECUS, and last year as a school board member, I was endorsed by Educate US, which is the advocacy arm of SECUS. I've worked against crisis pregnancy centers in our area that push into public schools. All across Pennsylvania, the crisis pregnancy centers abound and push into public schools. They're unvetted purity culture nonsense that they call sex education. And the public schools teachers, the secondary health teachers step aside and let these people come in during instructional time for like 2 or 3 days, where the 7th and 8th graders are like captive audience members. And they sent out a letter first saying, hey, you're going to talk to your kids about sex ed and condoms and all this stuff, but they don't really. They present something pseudo-scientific. They wind up telling the kids, not all of them, but the lies that I found were, telling kids that condoms were only 44% effective, and they have a lot of victim blaming themes, and so the state of Pennsylvania's standards of sex ed are STI education, that's sexually transmitted infection, as well as abstinence. And it's important to teach abstinence, but we also benefit from a comprehensive and LGBTQ inclusive sexuality education, because honestly, part of the human experience is sexuality, and kids are going to have some, just going through adolescence. So you want to give them the tools to understand what's happening with their bodies and what is appropriate and inappropriate relationship, and what maybe even what they're striving for. And they cannot, these crisis pregnancy centers that are church funded are teaching very heteronormative things, and they're funded by the church, giving these ideas that there's no sex before marriage.
It's great to meet both of you.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Be in
Thank
touch.
you.
Okay?
Absolutely. So it's important that kids get something that's evidence-based science, and that it's not rooted in religious norms, but it is inclusive of LGBTQ issues, and it's comprehensive, and it goes from anatomy to some kinds of relationships, so that kids can understand that sex should not be leveraged as a transaction. One of the things that the Crisis Pregnancy Center was teaching was sex risk avoidance education, which was basically teaching that sex is just as bad as drug or alcohol addiction. And that is not true. It's part of fostering good relationships with people. So you want to have a sex positive message. You don't want young people engaging in it when they shouldn't be, but you also don't want to make it to be this dirty transactional part of their lives. There's a lot of trauma that goes with that.
Okay, so, all right, well, certainly, that's, it's all very important. I mean, people don't realize that, children are reaching puberty sooner than older generations were. That's something a lot of people don't realize. So, obviously, the appropriate early education is important. So, okay, and so, do you have positions on let's say, like what's going on with say the, I know the, like foreign policy positions?
Well, we want to support our allies, and we want to ensure that authoritarian regimes that we don't work with do not take over our allies. So we want to make sure that we give aid to Ukraine so they're not taken over by Russia, for example. That's one. And we also want to give aid to Israel should it be attacked by Iran. We certainly recognize that Israel was attacked by Hamas, but we also recognize that Israel has abused power and indiscriminately bombed innocent Palestinians.
Yeah.
So we have to take measured approaches, and we have to make great use of intelligence. That's the way we found Osama bin Laden. It's the way we found Timothy McVeigh. Good investigative intelligence captures these.
Okay, well, this will be part 2 of the interview.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, good, strong intelligence captures leaders who would wreak havoc in the world.
I mean, I'm sure some on the left, there are some, some on the left who are very unhappy with Joe Biden for his support of Israel and is continuing to provide money and bombs for them. So
I think President Biden is doing a good job of threading that needle. Israel is our ally. Netanyahu is Israel's Trump. So we don't support Netanyahu and his indiscriminate bombing, but we support Israel, their existence. We support them in the event of an attack by Iran. And so it's important to recognize Israel's our ally, but sometimes it's led by people like Netanyahu who are not working toward the common good.
Okay. And so I guess your other positions on things like the minimum wage and...
Yep, I believe that we should be paid much more than $7.25, which is the federal minimum wage right now. Pennsylvania, sadly, is lockstep with the federal minimum wage.
Oops. Oh, okay. Oh, no, it's still going.
Oh, okay.
It's just...
they might be wanting to walk
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe now's probably a good time. So, okay. Well,
Okay.
Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure
Thank you,
you're
Paul.
probably headed out. You're headed out to some other events. I'm sure there are probably some luncheon events.
Well, I'm afraid
after
not.
the breakfast.
No.